Behind me, we see the wall that has been built. But if you look over this direction, you will see all the material that has been laid to the side that is not being used because this administration said we're not going to complete the wall, we're not going to do any more work on it.
Millions of illegal immigrants have strolled across our border just since President Biden has taken office. The crisis is getting worse and more solutions are needed. Fresh off of his Border Solutions Summit, joining me now, former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson. Governor Hutchinson also previously served as Undersecretary of Homeland Security for Border Security and Transportation and as the administrator of the DEA. Sir, wonderful to have you with us this morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Tom.
I can't begin to tell you how many people have come on this program and they love to restate the problem about the border, but they don't tend to offer a slate of practical solutions. You just hosted a Border Solutions Summit in Tucson, Arizona with community leaders. Lay out for us, based on that conversation, what some of those solutions need to be.
Tom, you're absolutely right. This is one of the most important issues that faces our country, and we've got to get it right. And so we were about solutions. What do we need to do to secure the border and to get it done in the right way? And so we had law enforcement there, but community leaders as well. I toured the border. I've got a significant amount of experience there. And there's a couple things that are important solutions. First of all, we have to have asylum reform. Right now we have 1.5 million asylum cases pending, which means they're released. They might not show up. They're not being adjudicated appropriately. That has to be done in a quicker fashion, and it ought to be done through our ports of entry. Secondly, you've got to look at these that come in and claim asylum. They're transiting through Mexico under international law. They can go to the first safe harbor, and they do not have to go through a transit company. And so that's country. And so that's one thing that needs to be looked at to say these ought to stay in Mexico. And then we've got to have more resources. As you saw the wall that was there, you've got a wonderful protective measure, but it has to have the Border Patrol resources and technology to back it up. We've got to have those resources there. And finally, we have to go after the cartel. It's not Mexico, it's not the U.S. that's controlling it right now, it's the cartel, and we've got to dismantle them. That's why they ought to be designated a foreign terrorist organization. Very critical to give us the resources, the ammunition that we need to take them on.
Yeah, and the cartel is now operating in cities and states all across the country because of the permissive attitude of this administration. On the same day, Governor, as your summit, Republicans from the House Judiciary Committee held a field hearing just a few hours away in Yuma, Arizona. Freshman Congressman from South Carolina, Russell Fry, had an interesting exchange with the audience. Watch.
My first question to the good people of Yuma, are you imagining a border crisis? Is the border secure here in Yuma? Has the border gotten worse under President Biden? And final question, do you think this administration has faithfully executed their obligation to secure that border?
Governor, Democrats used to be in favor of border security. Even Barack Obama used to publicly oppose many of the policies that we see today. From your time at the Department of Homeland Security and the DEA, why have we seen this dramatic shift, even though the human trafficking, the drugs, the crime, and the expense is clearly damaging this country?
Well, a couple of reasons. First of all, the congressman in the audience had it exactly right. The Biden policies along the border have been devastating to us. We do not have control over it. We have fewer control over it than we did a decade or even 2 decades ago. And so the Biden policies has tremendously hurt us. In regards to part of the challenges that we face, Mexico has taken a very soft approach to the cartels, which gave them more control. While I was head of the DEA, we cooperated with then President Vicente Fox and his administration, and we went after the Tijuana cartel led by the Ariana Felix brothers, and we dismantled that organization. That progress has been broken down and the cartels are strengthened today. Secondly, you've had the Biden policies of basically an open border that now he's trying to change, thank goodness, but it's so late that he sent the wrong message. It's given the cartels more strength. And so those are the challenges. Those can be corrected by changes in policy and more resources and more focus. So it's really optimistic is the approach that we took, that we can fix it. We're a great nation, and it's critical that we do this.
Yeah, I think just a lot of Americans are wondering why the Democratic Party has decided to abandon the sovereignty of this country in the way that they have. Governor, you just left the governorship last month. You were succeeded by Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who seems to be off to a running start. As you reflect on your time as governor, give me a couple of accomplishments that you're proud of and that you hope will define your administration.
Well, thank you, Tom, and had a wonderful 8 years as governor, and this is the first time in the history of Arkansas that a Republican administration has transitioned to another Republican administration, which Governor Sarah Sanders is leading. And so that's part of the success story, but they gained confidence in Republican leadership because we lowered taxes, went from a 7% individual income tax rate down to 4.9%. We also created a reserve fund of over $2 billion in surplus and reserve funds that we turned over that allows a greater investment in education. We focused on computer science education in Arkansas, and we went from 1,100 students taking computer science to over 23,000, which is critical for the national security of our country, that we focus on that technology education. Those are just a couple of things that I'm very proud of.
And Governor, I'm out of time, but I have to ask you this question. You've got a tremendous resume. A lot of folks have talked about you being a presidential prospect. There are rumors out there that you have, in fact, made up your mind. When are we going to hear a final decision on 2024?
Well, there's time. And so we've been in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina. I'll be returning to those states. We're focusing on solutions illustrated by the Border Security Solutions Summit. And so we're focusing on that. At the right time, we'll make a final decision and announcement. So stay tuned. I think it is critically important. We have a number of messages out there, and we'll be making a final decision probably in the second quarter of this year. Plenty of time for the debates if that opportunity presents ourselves.
All right, terrific. Former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, thank you so much for joining us today, sir.
Thank you, Tom.